This is Denis Wolowiecki, Executive Managing Director for CAPS Research. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us today as we help you understand the types of spend in your organization. We'd like to walk you through some various segmentations of the spend to give you a better foundation to move forward with further improvements and programs. This is the basic point, the starting, the foundation for how to understand all of the spend in your organization. And I'm going to talk through each of these segments so you better understand what they are and how to develop them from the data that you extract. There are several segments, but here they are represented as illustrative or sample bars on this chart. The size of these bars will vary for your company based on your industry and the nature of your supplier spend. However, representatively, let's step through each of these so you understand how this peels down to the portion that you can truly manage and affect. The first bar on the left is all expenditures. This portion of the spend includes wages, payroll, and people costs in your organization. Typically, this is not something your procurement and supply chain team is going to manage. Now, if you get your raw data from a total extract of the system, it could include this spend. Likely it won't, but it might. So be aware and be prepared to segment that out of your information. The next portion is total spend. Total spend includes a number of factors you should be aware of and you have to understand because it's still something you want to peel away as part of this process. It includes things such as taxes, regulatory fees, legal settlements, etc. Things that typically the procurement and supply chain organization cannot affect and influence. But it's important to understand it because it might have some bearing on some of the other spend that you can affect. The next segment is sourceable spend. This is where we really begin to touch the piece that your organization can affect and influence and control. Now, there are a couple of nuances here important to understand, such as legal spend, marketing spend, and some other types. It depends on your company, your cross-functional relationships, and the willingness of your partners to allow procurement and supply chain to work with them to understand whether some of this can be better managed and controlled. Oftentimes, a chief legal counsel or a chief marketing officer will say, "No, thank you. I've got this piece covered." That's not unusual. However, sometimes if your relationships are good, you might have the ability to influence, say, location spend for advertising and commercial development, or production costs around developing marketing content. Typically, though, not influencing something like media buys and media placements. The last piece is managed spend. And within that managed spend is the final piece I'll talk about, addressable spend. So what is the difference? Well, these are what we call the controllable spend. This is clearly within the sweet spot for procurement and supply chain. This is what the organization typically manages. This is where the rest of the organization typically will look to you to say, help with this, or please transact and buy these things. The managed spend is that comprehensive set of all goods, materials, services, capital equipment, etc. that the organization needs to operate. The collective set of that is all your suppliers supplying those things. However, you may not touch all of it every year. As an example, you may have raw material spend contracts for a period of 2 years. While there are negotiated pricing controls in those contracts, you won't actually negotiate, bid, or recontract for those in a given annual period. And that last piece is what you actually touch in the last annual period, and that is the addressable spend. Altogether, these make up the total portfolio of your expenditures in your company. We'll be producing further videos to take the next steps forward to help you understand how to apply these. Thank you very much.